The DCEU is a universe many people tend to look at as nothing but a terrible failed universe. But I actually think it has a lot of value when it comes to the individual movies. I tend to compare the DCEU to the X-Men movie universe in terms of being a poorly structured universe overall, but having a lot of great individual movies. And it's a shame that the DCEU ended so soon. People will never be able to appreciate it the way they do with the X-Men movies. But at least we can look at what could have been if the DCEU was handled better. This universe would actually start not in 2013, but in 2011 with Green Lantern. Because, for those who don't know, that movie was intended to be the first movie of the DCEU, but those plans were cancelled after the movie failed. In this timeline, though, it would be a much better version of that movie, still starring Ryan Reynolds, along with most of the same cast, aside from Sinestro, who is played by Ulrich Thompson, and Amanda Waller, who is played by Viola Davis. Hector Hammond is still the villain, however Parallax is cut because I have other plans for him down the line, and he did admittedly feel out of place in the first movie. Since this first chapter would actually be longer than the MCU's Phase 1, so we wouldn't begin teasing the larger universe immediately. Instead, the post-credit scene will set up a sequel in the same way the actual movie did, with Sinestro getting the yellow ring. In 2013, we would still get Man of Steel, however, it would be a bit different. I don't mind the darker tone as much as some other people, but I would definitely change the characterization of Superman and make him specifically a lot more hopeful. And because of that, he does not kill Zod. Instead, he sends Zod back to the Phantom Zone. He could potentially return in future projects. Also, Barry Allen is introduced in a supporting role played by Grant Gustin, and the post-credit scene shows him being hit by lightning. The first movie of 2014 would be Green Lantern Corps, introducing John Stewart, played by Sterling K. Brown, as a new Green Lantern who Hal is partnered up with to investigate the disappearance of Sinestro, discovering that he left the Green Lantern Corps to form his own Sinestro Corps, powered by the yellow light of fear. Hal is forced to face off against his former mentor, and with the help of John Stewart, manages to defeat the Sinestro Corps, with Sinestro being imprisoned. The post-credits scene shows the planet Kalinor, where Despero prepares to invade Earth. Also in 2014, we would get The Flash, releasing the same year that both the Flash TV show started and the real-life Flash movie began development. The movie stars Grant Gustin as Barry Allen and is essentially a condensed version of The Flash Season 1, with the main villain being Reverse Flash, played by Matt Letcher, and the Rogues as secondary villains, consisting of Captain Cold, played by Wentworth Miller, Heatwave, played by Dominic Purcell, Captain Boomerang, played by Jai Courtney, Trickster, played by Mark Hamill, Weather Wizard, played by Hayden Christensen, and Mirror Master, played by Emma Stone. The first movie of 2015 would be The Batman, which would be essentially the same as the actual movie. Robert Pattinson will be this universe's Batman. No offense to Ben Affleck, but I am honestly not a big fan of his Batman. I actually preferred him as Daredevil. So Pattinson would simply start out as a younger Batman in this universe, and the rest of the cast of the Batman could work as well, except for the Joker, who here will be played by Matthew Lillard. The post-credit scene shows Bruce going to the circus. The sequel to Man of Steel would be called Man of Tomorrow, and follow Clark having been Superman for 2 years now, and has become beloved by the people of Metropolis. Rudy Jones, a man who lost his family during the fight between Superman and Zod, volunteers to be experimented on by Luthor Corp and turns into Parasite. During their first fight, Superman is shocked to find Parasite's powers are enough to weaken him, and also Parasite absorbs some of Superman's powers, so he can use them for a bit. By the end, though, Superman finds a way to defeat him. The post-credit scene shows Lex Luthor going to the scene of the final battle to collect some of Superman's blood. 2016 kicks off with Wonder Woman. This movie remains essentially identical to the actual movie, with the only changes being that Ares isn't causing World War I, he's just gaining power from it, and so the war doesn't stop immediately when he dies. Also, the post-credit scene introduces Wonder Woman in present day. Then we get the first true crossover of this universe, although a bit of a smaller scale one. We aren't quite at the Justice League yet. World's Finest begins with Batman tracking down the Penguin after the events of the Batman and having him arrested. The movie follows Batman and Superman teaming up after Superman discovers Lex Luthor's plan to create a clone of Superman to fight him. Lex here is played by Nicholas Hoult, but he's portrayed as a bit more complicated than he was in Superman. Lex breaks the Joker out of prison alongside Harley Quinn, played by Margot Robbie. We are also introduced to Dick Grayson, played by Timothée Chalamet, who became Robin between the Batman and this movie. Luthor also hires Deadshot, played by Idris Elba. Lex Luthor ultimately succeeds in creating the clone, Bizarro, played by Tyler Hoechlin. They defeat Bizarro and the villains are arrested. The post-credit scene shows Harley and Deadshot being recruited by Amanda Waller. The final year of Chapter 1, 2017, begins with Suicide Squad. The team including Harley Quinn, Deadshot, Captain Cold, Weather Wizard, Captain Boomerang, Penguin, Parasite, El Diablo, and Rick Flag. Aside from the slightly different lineup, Penguin, Weather Wizard, Parasite, and El Diablo all die, but other than that, it's basically just a better version of the actual movie, with Enchantress as the main villain. Chapter 1 concludes with Justice League, where Despero comes to Earth to invade, claiming he wants to save them from a disaster that will happen in the future. Superman attempts to fight Despero and is outmatched by him. Injured, Superman goes to Batman, who reveals that he has been monitoring other heroes for a while, including Wonder Woman, The Flash, Green Lantern, Aquaman, and Cyborg. Aquaman and Cyborg are introduced here and have basically the same stories as in the actual Justice League movie, aside from the involvement of the Mother Boxes, which do not appear in this version. By the end of the movie, the League defeat Despero, who is dragged away into a portal of mysterious red energy, warning them that they've doomed everyone. The post-credit scene introduces the Anti-Monitor. Also, Martian Manhunter appears at the end in a cameo, and also Ryan Choi has a cameo, just like in Zack Snyder's Justice League.